go ahead and get this thing started in 3, 2. What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for stopping by another edition of People Are Terrible. Joining me, I'm Jeremy, and joining me is Caleb, as always. What's up, Caleb?
What's up, man? How are you doing today?
Doing good. We're getting an early start on it this morning compared to last week.
Yeah, definitely early. Before we wanted to get in, I wanted to give a shout out to someone, German Rifter VR.
Oh yeah, great people.
On Twitter, he's actually going through some stuff right now, some rough stuff. So go over to his Twitter and just tell him hi, send him your love. It's at German Rifter, Rifter.
Yeah, great people that we've got over on Twitter. A handful of people that we will definitely shout out as the show goes on. But just ever since that he's discovered the channel, he's been incredibly positive in reinforcing the fact that what we're doing over here actually does have some sort of meaning and some sort of value. So yeah, definitely hope that you're doing well and that whatever that you're dealing with right now gets handled in a good and positive way. Yeah, we'll go ahead and kick this thing off as always with weird news. Going to go into some Florida man headlines, and then each of us have brought a topic, being that this is the day of the premiere of the finale of Game of Thrones. I want to get Caleb to kind of help catch me up and fill me in on what the hell is actually going on over there in Westeros. And Caleb, you've brought a topic today as well.
I wanted to talk about Chris Evans' new website about politics and kind of the backlash that he's been getting because of it.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I didn't know anything about that until this morning. I did a little bit of reading when I was sitting on the John, so I think I pretty much know everything there is to know at this point.
Yeah, you're pretty much an expert.
All right, so let's kick off the weird news headlines with a bloodhound in Lake County. This police dog was named with the same name as a Nazi general, and once they were called on it, they changed the dog's name. Did you hear about this?
No, I didn't hear it. So what's the name?
The original name of this doggy was, let's see. Where are you at? The original name of the dog was Rommel the Bloodhound, Rommel. Apparently, he was like some high-ranking Nazi official. Early Friday morning, the Florida Department... Oh, this is a Florida man story, and we didn't even know it. Early Friday morning.
Florida man stories, and we don't know it.
It's very, very possibly true. The Florida Department announced its newest canine officer, a bloodhound named Rommel, with a Twitter post. Meet LCSO's newest bloodhound, Rommel. He's a 10-week-old liver-colored bloodhound now assigned to Master Deputy Mintshell. Rommel will soon begin his rigorous training to support the community by locating missing persons, fugitives, and evidence. Welcome aboard, Rommel. So it sounds like if the handler was the person who named the dog, he is also a Nazi. No, he's also German. So was it a mistake? I mean, did he do it on accident, or was there like they were just hoping it would be like an in-joke among the officers?
Well, also, is Rommel like a common last name in German? I don't know.
Yeah, is it like the equivalent of Smith or something?
Yeah, like, I don't know. It could be a very common last name. And he's like, no, it's literally based on all the other thousands of them and not this one person.
That's a good question, man. I didn't even look at it from that angle ahead of time. I just wanted to make fun of this person. And now you're really making me quite... So Erwin Rommel was a German field marshal and general who commanded Nazi forces in North Africa during World War II. It doesn't sound like they pointed to 5 people with the name Rommel over the years, so I don't know if that makes it more specific, but of course several Twitter users came out with snarky tweets. This is what can happen when folks aren't well versed in history. Naming police dogs after World War II German Wehrmacht generals is probably not the best idea. And then they share a link to the encyclopedia showing who the guy was. Let's see. What an amazing coincidence that cops would name their dog after a Nazi, says Gravelstan or Hell and Reason on Twitter. So yeah, a bunch of people busting their balls about it. And then a few hours later, Lake County Sheriff's Office came out and announced that there was a name change in order. The new tweet says, although our new bloodhound was named after a childhood pet of the handler, he learned that his name also is tied to a Nazi war criminal. The situation was rectified by a deputy renaming the dog Scout. So welcome Scout to the LSCO. That was just like, fuck it. We got to make a name change fast. What's the most generic, safe dog name we can come up with?
Scout. They should have just gone Spike.
Yeah, or Spot, like any number of just dumb, creatively bankrupt names. I mean, in that situation, what are you going to do, though? Like, do you stick with it? Do you keep the name of the dog?
Fuck yeah, you go, don't be crybabies. That's what I would do. So I just Googled Rommel. There's Erwin Rommel, who field officer, Manfred Rommel, mayor of Stuttgart, Adrian Rommel, French fencer, Eddie Rommel, American baseball pitcher, Frank Rommel, German skeleton racer, John Rommel, American trumpeter, Julia Rommel, American painter. There's some Polish military general, Julius's brother. There's a ton of them. So apparently if
we posted this on Twitter, how long do you think it would be before we received an apology and all of these people legally got their names changed?
All of them legally got their name changed?
Uh-huh.
I think so.
That's what needs to happen. Bunch of fucking Nazis. I think they should all just be
named Scout.
We apologize if our name has offended you. Well, I mean, that's not as bad as like Jim Carrey getting into a Twitter battle with fucking Mussolini's granddaughter a couple weeks ago. That was good.
That was weird. That was just weird on all ends. First of all, like, don't defend your grandfather. I know he's your grandfather or great grandfather or whatever, but he's also Mussolini.
Yeah, you're clearly on the wrong side of history on this one.
Yeah. Like, if I were related to Hitler, I would not defend him and be like, well, that's good old grandpaps, you know?
It was a different time.
Yeah, like, no, you kind of got to go, yeah, it's my lineage. I get I'm related to the worst person in human history, but, like, I wouldn't defend him. It's a weird stance to take.
No, this is definitely a situation where I think the cops were put in a situation. Like, the last thing that you want to be as a modern day police office or regional police officers is be tied to the Gestapo. So, like, they were kind of put in a situation where just for optics, they would probably be like, our bad. We didn't mean that. We definitely have heard your complaints and we changed our dog's name. But
yeah, and I don't think it was intentional. I don't think they were like, it's going to be a Nazi officer. I mean, it could have been. If so, that's really fucked up. But yeah, I think it was an honest mistake.
Yeah, I think we can give them the benefit of the doubt on that. Damn it, I've been showing this picture of mashed potatoes. That's going to be a good image.
On the story, I saw that like 15 times on every different website about mashed potatoes.
I guess we'll go ahead and get to it now. So here in the Gulf Coast, we get all sorts of weird news headlines. This one comes from Jackson, Mississippi, which I've got a lot of good friends over there in Jackson and get to go to conventions out that way. And so I've been in this area, a lot of nice people. Apparently, residents of a Mississippi neighborhood are trying to get to the bottom of an unusual mystery. Someone has been leaving mashed potatoes in various locations. Neighbors in the Belhaven area of Jackson said they'd been finding plates of mashed potatoes in locations including porches, mailboxes, and on top of vehicles. Quote from a resident named Jordan Lewis. He says, this neighborhood does a lot of quirky things. We decorate road signs. We put Christmas trees in our potholes. So it's not surprising at all. That's why I love this neighborhood, because they do so many strange things. But this is definitely one of the weirdest things I've seen since living in Jackson. So yeah, they wake up and they find like styrofoam bowls and plates of mashed potatoes. There is some real key information missing though. Like, are they instant mashed potatoes?
That's the important thing. If they're instant mashed potatoes, it's a hate crime. And
that's true.
So did they find out who's doing it?
They don't. He goes on to say that some people were thinking maybe the mashed potatoes were poisoned to kill animals. I didn't taste it. I have a 3-second rule, so I didn't touch it, but some people were worried. So he found the potatoes at his doorstep. Neighbors said they have not involved the police since the prank appears to be harmless. So nobody's eaten it. I guess they haven't tasted it, but there is some sort of person, maybe not person, roaming around the neighborhoods, giving people mashed potatoes. So who's behind this?
Maybe kids, or do you think? No, probably a grown adult. Like, what kid would be out there making mashed potatoes?
It's a weird, and like, what's the motive to just go viral?
Maybe, but then you don't even get credit for it. You don't. Is he going to come forward like Tony Stark and be like, "I am mashed potato man"?
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Like,
That's a weird thing. What's the weirdest thing about it is that it's actually making national news. Like you said, you've read about it multiple places. This is kind of a big deal. And I remember my buddy Steve on Friday told me about it at work, and I was like, that's something that we're not going to hear about on Philip DeFranco on Internet Today or something like that, where they're talking about weird news. But it looks like it potentially could get that kind of attention for some reason.
it's a weird thing. Like for us, it makes sense, but this is going to be on some random serious news show where they're talking about mashed potatoes.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think we've talked about enough about it. What do you got going on?
I want you to open the link I just sent you. It says terrifying pictures show worrying trend of porn star lip fillers.
Oh no.
This is the most terrifying thing. So we've all seen lip injections. I've never seen lip injections of this nature. Did you see it?
I'm looking at it right now. That is all sorts of disturbing. It doesn't even look like lips anymore at that point. It looks like she's got some sort of fucking weird growths on her face. Like if she had two tongues and she was able to do that old school joke, it's fucking disgusting looking.
They're like 2 inches wide per lip. It's unreal. I've never seen anything like it. It looks like your asshole after you eat like too much chili or something.
All right, so hey, the second girl down, the new pouts have been dubbed porn star lip fillers. The one with the little Marilyn piercing on her face. Doesn't that look like more normal? Like she just took the makeup line and extended it past her lip on the top?
Yeah, it looks like she got really drunk and put on her lipstick is what it looks like.
That one doesn't look like a blown out fucking whoopee cushion like the other ones do.
What about the one underneath her, the one in the hijab? Her lips are huge too.
Oh, it's hideous, dude. There's nothing good of it. Oh, it looks like a butt. Like if you just turned it to the side, or a vagina.
Yeah, it's kind of very vagina.
Yeah, I don't understand.
It looks like this is. Have you ever seen prolapse porn stumbled across? It's the most disgusting thing ever.
No, what is that?
Oh, okay. So I had no idea either. And so the way I found out about this is someone mentioned it at a girl actually at one of my old jobs said something about anal prolapse porn. And I was like, and she's like, it's disgusting. So what do I naturally do? Go Google it. It's apparently like where their whole butthole comes out, like the insides of their intestines.
Ah.
And like other women lick it and stuff. It's disgusting.
No.
That's what this looks like. It's terrifying. My thing is, like I don't judge anyone for getting plastic surgery. You all have it, like we all have insecurities or things we want to fix. That's fine. But to this extent, it doesn't even look natural. Like the bottom one too, it looks very, very painful.
Yeah, who is it for? We've talked even a little bit on the show about like body dysmorphia, and like you said, people having hang-ups about parts of their body that they just obsess over that other people may or may not even notice. There is this like standard of beauty and stuff like that, but who is setting out to look like they got a botched fucking plastic surgery job?
Yeah, it's not like these people look good or anything like it.
No.
Likes full lips, they're sexy, but this is not attractive.
It's like the difference between getting breast augmentation and then getting like 38 double G's or some shit. It's like one of these things is like you kind of can understand why somebody would maybe want to fill in their lips a little bit, but then this looks comical. It looks like a fucking cartoon.
You know what it reminds me of? You remember those wax lips when you were a kid?
Yeah.
The, like candy wax lips? That's what it looks like.
100%. Yeah. Ugh. Do you remember
I don't get it.
Do you remember hearing about that? She was like wanted to look like Angelina Jolie, the Octomom.
Oh, I totally forgot about Octomom and what she did to her face.
She did similar stuff. She didn't go this far into that direction, but it's close. It's similar. And like just that whole look of like half cat person, fucking you'll only ever look at them as porn stars. And as a matter of fact, dude, if you scroll all the way down that article, there's a sponsored link. World's first surviving octuplets are all grown up, and it's got a picture of Octomom. But
Really?
yeah. So yeah, there's definitely something to be said about the fact that it popped into my mind and it's also there. I just don't get it, man. Like that one on the top, especially, it just looks so bizarre. And
It looks like it hurts.
they look like what? It hurts.
It looks like it hurts. So yeah, it looks painful.
100% porn
Did you see?
star look.
Did you see the guy who it was like a year or so ago, he got a ton of plastic surgery to look like Kim Kardashian?
No.
You just Google man looks like Kim Kardashian, he'll pop up. And he had those lips too. I guess he was a trendsetter. And uh, and like big tattooed on eyebrows, and he does not look like Kim Kardashian.
Why the fuck would you do that? It's just so bizarre to me. I mean, you have to pay good money for it, and I'm sure it does more than look painful. I'm pretty sure it's got to be extremely painful. You know, there were those two twins that wanted to look like Brad Pitt that like got calf implants and all this shit. It's like, dude, if you're willing to hurt to get your body the way you want it to look, you should go to the fucking gym. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus Christ.
That's my thing is like with muscles. If you want to get muscles, just work out. I have one of my good friends, actually one of the guys I was with last night, super built dude. My real good friend Luis, he super jacked. He works out like a monster. Good on him. You know, like that's how you achieve those goals. I'm even one of those people too. Now I think in special circumstances, absolutely, you know, get gastric or whatever. But I'm a firm believer of someone who's lost so much weight. Even that, I'm like, if you do everything in your ability to lose the weight first before going under a needle.
Yeah. Yeah. And
You know?
it's like, hey, if you want to have a fat lip, get it the old fashioned way.
Just
Let's
get
have
punched
a
in the face.
domestic dispute. Yeah. Oh, that is so weird, man. No, I didn't even see anything about that. You guys let us know what you think about the porn star lips. I don't understand that look. I feel like it's very like a product of a different time. It felt like all that like cosmetic surgery stuff was like started in the 80s and then like peaked in the 90s with like your Pamela Andersons and your Jenny McCarthy's and stuff. And then like nobody wants to look like that anymore, I didn't think. But I guess Kim Kardashian brought butt implants into the scene and all sort. Like people wanting to look like Kim Kardashian has been a weird phenomenon in itself.
Yeah, and the thing is, I see people who like I personally know. There's one person who pops in my head who's obviously had plastic surgery and butt implants and boob implants. She looks great. It's very tastefully done. More power to her. But there's a point where you're like, okay, stop. It's kind of like tattoos. As someone who's covered tattoos, there's a point where you're like, I'm tattooing my eyelids. Do I really need to continue?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. Tattooed eyebrows are a pretty strange thing in themselves, too.
I should do mine. I'm gonna get a tattooed unibrow.
Oh, that'd be dope. That'd be dope. You go with the Frida Pinto look.
Yeah, that's a good look. I think talk about a trendsetter.
You got to be careful with your eyes, though. I mean, like, they're a pretty important organ in your body, kind of responsible for helping you, like, navigate your way through this crazy fucking world and read weird news headlines. And there's actually one about a doctor that found 4 living bees living under a woman's eyelids. This was in Taiwan, and a woman was suffering from a swollen eye when she went to the hospital, where doctors found 4 minuscule bees living under her eyelid.
So this is the instant I talked about where we're going to bring the same story. Actually, this was my next one too, so this is perfect.
So you know, but for the folks at home, Hung Ji-ting, the head of the ophthalmology department in Taiwan's Fuyan University Hospital, said he noticed what looked like insect legs under the woman's left eyelid and used a microscope to discover she had sweat bees, also known as sweat bees, living next to her eye. Ugh.
This is this is something out of a horror film. Like stuff like this doesn't happen in real life. It really bothers me.
It's like a fucking David Cronenberg movie or something.
Yes, that is a perfect reference. Have you ever had anything like done to your eyes? I had LASIK.
Oh no. Okay, tell me about that.
So first of all, not horrible. But so it takes about 30 seconds per eye. You know, so they put numbing drops in your eye, and then they like they put a laser. They're like, stare at this light, and you hear tick, 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 tick. And then next thing you know, like, okay, we're gonna open your eye, and they get a little tweezer, and they're like, you're gonna go blind in this eye for a second, and they like fold open your eye, and the second they do that, you do like for like a second, you lose complete eyesight in that one eye. That second is terrifying.
I bet.
Because you're like, what if it doesn't come back? What if they put it back and they're like, oh, sorry, you know? And then they flip it back. You can see it's blurry, obviously, and then they get these like little mini squeegees almost, and they're like straightening out your eye, so like rubbing it on your eye to lay the flap back down. Now you can't feel it. It's so weird because you're like, wow, that's close to my eye, but you don't feel it, so it doesn't actually feel like it's touching your eye at all. And it's a weird sensation, and that part wasn't too bad. But then the eye drops they gave me, I apparently am lucky. I'm one of the like 1 in 100 people who gets allergic reactions to the eye drops. So then my whole eye turned yellow, which was not fun. And I had to go back to the doctor and they had to like drain it. And that was painful as shit.
Drain it?
Yeah. They had to like poke it and like push out pus out of my eye.
So do they do them both at the same time?
Yeah. But only one eye got infected, luckily. So they did them both. And then they're like, don't rub your eyes because they don't like sew your eye back together. So you'd open the flaps back up. So
shit.
It feels like sand in your eyes. Like it just for like 3 weeks, it just feels like you have sand in your eyes. The worst dry eyes you'll ever have. It was totally worth it. I'm so happy I don't wear glasses anymore. But it's a weird thing getting your eyes fucked with. So I could only imagine having a bee in your damn eye.
And not knowing it. I mean, obviously, these are small bees that feed off of sweat is where they got their name from. They're tiny little bees that were about 3 millimeters, 2 to 3 millimeters long. They're known as sweat bees, again, because they do fucking like to land on human bodies and drink the sweat off of them. So essentially, these bees were feeding off of her tears, which is kind of ironic because she got them while she was tending to a relative's grave. So she was out there probably crying, maybe not, but the bees got into her eyes. She took them home, and when the doctors treated her, they found that she was suffering from some sort of suffering from bacterial skin infection, cellulitis, and severe corneal erosion. So it had been doing a number on her eyes. I don't know how long she had been there, but she is expected to make a full recovery. Talking about eye stories, this is probably me oversharing, but that's kind of what we do here. I have a fucking 6 orbital fractures around my right eye. And
wow.
Yeah, I got hit one time and fucking crushed my skull. But I like, you plug your nose and you like kind of push to clear your ears out. You're kind of trying to pop your ears on an airplane or whatever. Well, I did that one time, and as I blew, it made like this squish sound, like, and all of a sudden my entire eyeball was like, not the eyeball, but all of the tissue and everything around my eye had swollen completely shut. Some sort of fluid from my sinuses, my brain, I don't know where the fluid came from, but it came rushing through those cracks in my skull and just completely swelled my entire right eye shut. And I freaked out. I thought I had just now completely blinded myself in my right eye. I had no idea my skull was fractured at this time. When I went into the hospital and they did the x-rays is when they told me. But now I can't pop my ears like that. And actually, like, it's weird if I do drink or like I do anything where like I party too hard, I get up in the morning and that eye almost looks black. So like I got to be super careful with it. Apparently that shit doesn't go together. But that sensation of my eye swelling shut like that and just going completely black, I thought that I had fucking went blind, and it's like the scariest thing that could ever happen.
That sounds absolutely terrifying, man. Like, my dad once got an infection. His whole eye was closed shut. It was disgusting. I was worried just recently. My eye got infected after I got my thyroid removed. And so I did the worst thing possible. Where, I mean, it was probably good because the doctor was like, no, it's just your eyes. And then I called my thyroid specialist. And they're like, no, go to a different eye doctor. Because there's a thing called thyroid eye disease. Is where your body it's producing too much thyroid hormone, and because I now have my thyroid removed because of the cancer, I have to take a supplement, and it was too high at the time. So they were worried my body was attacking my eyes. And if you pull up pictures of thyroid eye disease, your eyes like pop out of your head. It's
What?
like, yeah, it's like, you know, have you seen people like Graves' disease where they can like pop their eyes out of their head? So I'm
Uh-huh.
like, God damn it. I'm like, I just got cancer and now my eyes are going to pop out of my goddamn head. I was like, no, but luckily it wasn't that. It was just, I had an infection.
It's Graves' disease, or is that different?
That's different, I guess.
Holy shit. Yeah, they're all,
Yeah.
that's all, like you get crazy eye, the disease.
Yeah. I'm like, could you imagine that? Like, that is not something I want to add to my list of problems.
No. Oh God, dude. It's Google Images is disgusting.
Oh, it's the worst, isn't it?
I just want to like look at one specific thing and they give you the most extreme examples of shit. I ain't even looking for that. All
I
right.
should have let it go, and then I could have had the popped out eyes, and then I could have got porn star lips. Just had a matching set.
Tell them Large Marge sent you.
That's what I'm gonna do.
All right, what else you got? I
All
just
right.
took yours.
So my next one is a firefighter placed on leave for allegedly walking naked into 7-Eleven.
Oh, nice.
And so this officer, apparently he was on a road trip with his girlfriend. She told the police she dared him to go into the store naked after he said it was legal in Rhode Island. So this guy, this firefighter, for whatever reason, thought it was perfectly legal to walk into anywhere naked in Rhode Island. I don't know if he read this online, where he got this idea.
Not correct though.
No, apparently not. Apparently not a correct thing, apparently. So police responded to a 7-Eleven in Middletown the afternoon of April 3rd for a report of a naked customer. The owner said the man walked in, quote, with a smile on his face, purchased the soda, and left in a car. The car, with two fully clothed occupants, was pulled over. The 29-year-old passenger said she dared her boyfriend to go into the store nude because he said it was legal in Rhode Island. Police say 60-year-old John Walsh of Linfield, Massachusetts, was charged with disorderly conduct. His phone rang busy Thursday, so he is on leave. He's been with the department for 40 years, and this bastard walked into a 7-Eleven naked.
And you said it was Rhode Island?
Yep.
Well, I mean, first of all, not a big deal. You know what I mean? Hey, the dude was naked. We were born naked, whatever. That's all fine. But what a funny thing to like think that just, even if it's legal to do it, like what a ballsy move to just straight up go into a business and smile as you do it and purchase a drink and walk out.
I don't think I'd have the balls to do it. Like, even if it
No.
was legal, I don't think I could walk in with my dick flopping around and buy a soda. Like, I just don't think I could do it.
No, dude, and you're a 35-year-old man, not a 60-year-old man.
Not a
Maybe
60-year-old.
maybe as you age out of inhibition in that way. Like, well, what I don't know. Like when you said boyfriend and girlfriend, I'm like, oh, so like some younger people. Oh, his girlfriend was 30.
Yeah, his girlfriend's 29 years old. That's another element of the story.
So, and she just figures she'll take his sage wisdom. Obviously, he's worked closely with law enforcement for quite a while.
My thing is, too, that could not have been a pretty sight because gravity's working its work. So, those are saggy old man balls on it.
Yeah,
too.
and this isn't 3 a.m. either. This is 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And
He probably bounced in on those things like a South Park episode, like a fucking bouncy ball.
yeah, this is all a crazy story. And driving away in a Mercedes Benz, it's like you think that you'd think that a person in this position would like kind of have their shit together at this point. It's not like some just crazy random drugged out person, like, you know what I mean, like some just whacked out person that we'll talk about here in a little bit. This is like what you kind of consider to be an upstanding member of society. But wow, yeah, I don't know. I guess if he does get in trouble for it, I don't know. I don't even know what you do in this situation.
I think too, you think, like you said, maybe he's aged out of the inhibitions, but still, you think at 60 years old, you'd have better judgment than this.
Yeah, or like a smartphone to Google it. Like, yeah, that sounds fun. Maybe I should check the law real quick. Because and apparently that isn't a good enough alibi anymore. Like, what kind of world are we living in where you can't just say I didn't know that was against the law and get away with it?
Ignorance to the law. Yeah, apparently that's not a good defense.
What do you mean murder's against the law? Nobody ever told me that.
That had never came up.
Oh shit. Fire captain. Love it. Love it. All right. Chaos at Walmart as woman performs karate. Son exposes himself and dog steals food. This shit is wild, bro. Did you hear about this?
Ever. No, I haven't.
It's one of the best stories I've heard in a while, and we've been doing this for a minute. Chaos descended on a Wisconsin Walmart store Wednesday night after a karate-performing mother, her naked son, and their belligerent dog shoplifted and ran amok in the store. There was a phone call that a woman named Lisa Smith, 46, her dog Bo, shoplifted items from the store, and the woman's 26-year-old son Benny Van was causing chaos in the store as well. So police learned that Smith came into the store and unleashed Bo, and the dog immediately started running off towards customers while the woman was pulling apart displays in the store and placing them in her cart. After being told to leave the store, the woman began showing off her karate moves in the parking lot to fend off police officers. The dog tried to flee the crime scene, albeit unsuccessfully, with a box of Jiffy cornbread muffin mix in his mouth. After a brief fight with the officers, Smith was arrested, and as a last-ditch effort she attempted to kick the window out of the police car. Meanwhile, her raucous son was getting fully naked and began exposing himself to other customers at the store. He then tried to cover himself with new clothes from the store without intending to pay for them, police says. As the cops confronted him, he attempted to run them over with one of those little mobility scooters, prompting the police to use physical force to stop the scooter and arrest the man. Wow.
Oh, why did you not lead with that one? That one's just too... I'm literally crying over here.
That's 5 fucking good stories in one, man.
Like, I'm actually hot now. It's all those things.
Holy shit.
Man.
Only in Walmart.
Oh, like, okay, so run through it, not in detail. I can't deal with the detail. Yeah. So they ran in. She let the dog out as like a distraction. Is that what I got?
That's what I was thinking. That the dog was fucking like a diversion tactic. So the dog goes running into the store. She follows in afterwards. I don't know what she wanted with the display racks, but she's just like mad disassembling fucking promo display shelves, putting them into her shopping cart. I don't think the 26-year-old son was actually the owner of the mobility scooter, but I don't have those details in front of me. But holy shit, I mean, were they both on meth or?
I don't know. So it was her son.
Her son,
right?
and their dog.
And their dog. So she just walks in and is like, go scout, and fucking lets the dog take off, and then starts taking apart display signs, and then who got into the mobility scooter?
The son, the 26-year-old son. I guess while she was getting arrested, he decided to talk about diversion tactics. Maybe it was him that was supposed to do the distracting, because he stripped down butt naked, and we just now found apparently that's against the law now. And the woman began showing off her karate moves in the parking lot to fend off the police. So this is just all around fucking hysterical. The dog stealing Jiffy cornbread muffin mix. Like,
when you said that was my breaking point with the Jiffy cornbread. I just couldn't take it anymore.
Like, why that, for one thing? Like, why did the dog want that? Maybe it was just on a low shelf. I don't know what kind of dog it is either. She's
like trained him like crazy. She's like, when we get in there, Rommel, go ahead and have the Jiffy. Oh fuck! Where was that?
Not Florida. It was in. This is actually a really funny article, and it's from Fox News of all things, and it's from the Wisconsin Walmart. And the way they wrote it is as if it were just a straight up like out of the Huffington Post weird news section. Like, whoever wrote this article is definitely in on the joke, because just the way they tell this story is so fucking funny. And then apparently at the end, Bo the dog was caught by officers in the store and brought to the Humane Association. The dog was not charged. We issued him a warning for theft. Ha 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 ha. Then he was euthanized for it. No, it doesn't say that part, but holy shit.
Hey, man. It's people are fucking insane. There have to have been drugs involved of some sort, or this was a weird, elaborate plan that they've like got together for months to still. What was it? Jiffy cornbread? Was that what it was?
50 cents a box, man. That shit just, you can't get it
Was
anywhere.
it? Okay, yeah, that's some high quality shit.
That's what
She's
we
like,
used
"We'll
to
let
eat
the
in my
dog off
house.
the leash. You'll do the helicopter movement. It'll distract everybody, and he's gonna go straight for the cornbread."
I just, dude, I want to see the surveillance footage for this.
Oh
That would
God,
be the best.
I would probably watch it like 13 times. You know, where like sometimes I'll do that shit on Twitter. I'll see like a video, and I'll watch it like 14 times and just laugh till I cry. Like, and this one sounds like it would push me. Just the hearing it pushed me over the edge. I could imagine actually seeing a video of this.
She's got a black eye. He's got a freaking red nose. He looks like he got popped right in the face, too. They were probably just acting
Oh, so
like fucking wild animals.
do you have? There's mugshots of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. There's at least that much. Let's see. I'm going to just shoot
Walmart. I'm
you.
pulling up.
Chaos at Walmart. Karate. What a headline.
That was my thing. I was like, what do I? I'm like, what do I Google? Like karate, Walmart. Holy shit, this lady is terrifying.
She looks like the old witch in the neighborhood that everybody's afraid to go by her house.
She 100. She looks like she was designed by like Guillermo del Toro. Is what she looks.
But like both of them look like they got fucking roughed up on the way in for obvious reasons. I'm not saying they shouldn't have either. Like what a just a mess of fucking white trashery going on in that whole situation.
Dude, that's a real thing. Like white people, when they get poor, are the craziest fucking poor people on the planet.
Crazy
it's like a
as
real.
fuck.
They're like in like white. I've known like a lot of hood people, and the craziest shit I've ever seen is always been white trash people.
Yeah. Like, I mean, there's a good mix on, like, I remember Jerry Springer back in the day, and there's just something, it's sad. It's not only poor people, but there's something about, look, this is coming from a very, very poor person. There's something about being like that kind of poor where people just go fucking crazy. Like, I think it happens in pretty much all, like, poverty areas.
Yeah, and this comes from two very poor people, and we did not grow up, very well off, either one of us. But it's a real shit, man. I've seen some shit from some white trash people, like crazy stuff.
Do you have any other weird news headlines?
And that's it, man. I think that's a perfect one to end on too.
It is, and it really does segue nicely into our segment that we lovingly call "What the Florida." So this first one I want to talk about is a case that began with 3 naked women at a rest stop that ends in a high-speed chase in Florida. The 3 nudes told a Florida highway patrolman that they were air drying themselves after bathing. So it was like 3 18 and 19-year-old girls that were in a bus stop lounging all natural, and then they ended up leading Pasco County officers on a high-speed chase that ended when one of them tried to attack the officers with a pink baseball bat. So, like you do, someone reported seeing the women Wednesday morning in their birthday suits at a rest stop on Interstate 75. A highway patrol officer who responded to the call said that when she questioned the naked suspects, one of them said that they showered and were air drying. The 3 women said they had been staying at a relative's house but left after an argument, and having nowhere else to shower, they used the soap and water to bathe on the grass outside the rest stop building. The women did get dressed before speaking to the troopers, but then got into a white 2009 Sentra and drove away before the questioning had finished. They tracked them down to a parking lot where one of the women jumped out with this pink baseball bat and started trying to hit the officers with it. When they got back into the vehicle, they all 3 linked arms and would not allow themselves to be arrested before, obviously, they drove away again, and then police eventually stopped the car by using spike strips in this high-speed pursuit. So, yeah, 3 women, not even women, really kids, arrested for resisting arrest, 2 counts of aggravated assault, and 3 counts of lewd behavior.
How old were they?
18, 19, and 19.
Oh, man. It just... Again, all these things I hear, I'm just like, I don't understand the end game with any of this stuff. I don't understand the purpose. Like, I'm not saying I understand crime in general, but like, at least if you're like, okay, bank robbery, you're trying to get money, like it makes sense. Florida, it's always just random weird shit. Get pink baseball bat and swing it at some cops.
It is a weird story. Like, if what they were trying to do was bathe, then why do you got to do it? I mean, like, there are restrooms.
Yeah, I don't get it. It's,
The logic is flawed, I guess.
Is what it has to be. All this stuff.
What'd you say? Drugs?
Yeah. Like, that's the only logic I can think of.
Yeah, and I mean, when you're riding 3 deep and you're a bunch of like probably crazy people, but when you're riding around 3 deep and you try to stay at a relative's house and you like these sound like the kind of people that are gonna run into conflict in their regular lives. Like, who wants to put those fucking people up in their house? Like, I don't know where there is a place for people with that kind of crazy. It's just a weird story. 2 of them were obviously sisters, and then the third, like, they do definitely look like they're gay. So, like, maybe there was I don't know, like a sexual element to the reason why they were all naked, but I imagine the sisters weren't like involved with it. It's weird. Like, that's me again trying to make logic out of something that is just totally fucking irrational.
A lot of times you and me definitely both try to do that. We'll be like, okay, what was the story that led to this event? And we start creating all these scenarios that really don't make sense anyway. They just make more sense than anything we can think of.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just another. It's a headline. It's a headline without any clear, like, what do you even say about that? What do you even fucking do about that? I don't know.
Yeah, there's.
Let's see.
I was gonna say, it's a light Florida man week. I'm actually surprised you found stuff. Everything I find is kind of depressing, like with people dying, and I don't like to like joke about that shit.
No. What about the Florida man that was arrested after aggressively eating handfuls of pasta out front of an Olive Garden?
Now that's a good story.
A shirtless alleged drunk was arrested outside a Naples, Florida Olive Garden last week after customers complained he was sitting on a beach and shoving handfuls of pasta into his mouth. So homeboy basically got arrested for aggressively eating pasta.
Okay, so he was outside eating, and they arrested him for it.
He was outside eating drunk, and the cops came down, and he was erratic. First, his erratic behavior first reached a boiling point when he threatened to beat up an employee who he bizarrely asked whether he had male or female sex organs. I mean, that's a legit question. I don't understand the problem there.
I've just been walking up and doing the pat test, just walking up to people.
Yeah,
just be like, hey, okay. Good.
The Ace Ventura test, right? Wait, no. It was the Crocodile Dundee.
The crocodile or the Goku. Goku always did that.
Did he really?
Original Dragon Ball. He would tap people because he was obsessed with dicks and vajayjays.
Oh shit. So once outside, Paget allegedly began muttering obscenities and begging for change, all in between handfuls of pasta. I like the visual of this. Like,
I do too.
Just angrily cramming fucking some shitty pasta into his mouth on the stoop.
I'm assuming he was eating with his hands, right? Is that the visual we're going with? Because that's what I'm picturing.
Oh no, 100% eating with his bare hands. And the cops arrived and tried to give the pasta eating panhandler paper towels to clean his face before cuffing him. And he allegedly had one outburst in the back of the car where he injured himself by banging his head against the metal cage partition. He was treated at the hospital for a bloody forehead and then released on a $2,000 bond. And like, looking at him, he's a 32-year-old dude. He's got like huge abrasions and cuts all over his forehead. Apparently it's self-inflicted from him just smashing his head into the gate in the back of the fucking cop car. And you wonder why cops are just generally dicks. You know what I mean? Oh
man, imagine the shit you have to put up with as a police officer. Like, it has to be unfucking real. Like, you're probably 90% of it's just bullshit like this. You're like, all right, man, let's go take care of pasta, man, and let's fucking do this shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a very, very funny idea to think that just like taking somebody like this and putting them into a cop car and taking them down to the police station and booking them, and then he gets out of jail and $2,000 bond. Like, it's just a matter of time before dude's in the same kind of situation again. And that's it. It all is funny at first glance, and then you think about it and you're like, oh man, It's sad. Like, there's no, this kind of crazy, there's no fucking solution to that. There's no way to resolve those kind of fucking issues.
Oh no, that's a revolving door. 100%. Speaking of crazy, I actually found a story. Florida man tries to buy lotto tickets with movie money.
What?
Did you hear about this one? I don't know. Let's find out. We'll find out on the fly. In Clearwater, Florida, a Florida man is behind bars after deputies say he tried to buy lottery tickets using, quote, movie money. According to the sheriff's office, Timothy Zimmerman, 30, knowingly attempted to pay scratch-off tickets using a $100 bill that was labeled as for motion picture use only. When Zimmerman was confronted about the fake currency, he fled the location. Zimmerman was positively identified by a witness in the photo lineup. Zimmerman was arrested for using forged bills. So apparently he tried to use a voucher that looked like money, $100 to buy lotto tickets.
But I mean, what is life if not a movie?
That's true.
Okay, so what
Talk
was
about
it?
something stupid to go to jail for?
Is it a prop? Or is it a gift
Oh, I
certificate?
bet you're right. I bet you it's movie prop money. I bet you it's prop money.
I wonder where he got that from. That's
You
kinda
buy it on
cool.
Amazon?
For real?
Yeah.
Huh. That's
Yeah.
interesting. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know you could get your hands on. Let me see what prop money looks like. It must say
Yeah.
clearly denoted on it that it's fake money, prop money.
He
So-
probably went on Amazon and was like, oh man, this shit looks real. I'm going to go. And I'm sure it looks real when it's on camera and 10 feet away, not someone's holding it in their hand.
Let me see. Like, I just now typed in prop money, and it's insane. Like, there you can just buy bills off of fucking eBay so easily, so readily, and at least on one side, they look perfect. I just typed in counterfeit money, and you can buy what you want. You can get it all right here on the fucking internet, guys. That is crazy. You can get just
Prop
whatever kind of
money.
money you want.
Let's see. Prop money. Yeah, it looks pretty legit. It's only $16 for $10,000.
Damn,
For prop
that's the
money.
come up right there, dude. I got 50 aged $100 full print 1990 style bills, only $24.
So this one says full print, two-sided, realistic. My thing that makes me wonder, have you ever seen those people that they're like young as shit and they're like posted on Instagram holding stacks and stacks of cash? I wonder if they go on here and buy some of this shit to just like stunt for whatever, for
I'm
Instagram.
about to, as a matter of fact. Yes,
Just
be
make
like,
a video of
"Man,
you.
people are terrible. We're fucking rolling in the dough."
We'll just do a whole podcast where we just throw money for like an hour. That's the whole thing. We'll just make it rain for an hour.
Okay, so in the top little bar on both sides, it does say motion picture purposes on these counterfeit bills. So
Yeah.
it is noted on there. This note is for motion picture purposes. It's not legal tender, but that took me a minute to even notice that.
I guarantee you there's some people who passed it off without realizing.
Huh.
You know, passed off like 20s, especially something like that, not like hundreds.
Because you're just not all that likely to come across counterfeit money. You ever came across counterfeit money?
Yes, numerous times.
And you work
numerous
in
times.
jewelry, so that makes sense.
Yep. Numerous times. And some of it is like legit. And then there's other ones they hand you, and I'm like, dude, this ain't money, and I'll hand it back. And they're like, it really is. I'm like, nah, dude, it's not money. No, it'll even work with the pen. I'm like, I'm not even trying the pen.
Yeah,
It
like
fucking feels like tissue paper. No, it's not money.
right now you can walk out of here without have committed a crime. Like, are you sure you still
Yeah.
want to do this?
You know, another thing we used to run into all the time is people trying to send in their fake Rolexes to the actual Rolex dealer, because what they want to do is send it in to be like, oh, I need my Rolex service. So they send it out. And then when you call them and go, hey, Rolex determined it's fake, they're going to go, no, I sent you a real Rolex. You need to owe me a real Rolex. So you run into that all the time. And it's always the cheapest fucking knockoffs I've ever seen in my life, Rolex. I'm like, dude, you're talking to a dude who's held thousands of Rolexes. And I know how they feel. Like, literally, they'd hand it to me, and I'd grab it and go, yeah, this is fake.
Yeah.
And then they'd lose their shit so quick. I'm like, dude, I know these. Why would you think you're going to? And it was always like, it'd be like gold plated, and the plating's ripped off, and they'd be like, no, it's not fake. It's solid gold. I'm like, it's your solid gold flaking off to reveal the copper underneath. So I don't think it's solid gold.
Is it a weight thing? Like right off the bat, you can feel the weight of
You can
it?
feel the movement, the way it moves. You can feel the weight. Plus, there's cereal. And then I would always do this. I go, if you really want to do it, we can. And I'd pick apart their watch. I'd take out the watch tools, pop off the bracelet, go, there's no cereal here. There's no cereal here. See this, this. I do all these little things. Be like, the crown's different. Do you really want me? And or people would be like, or you'd see this. People come in, try to like, they'd be on a date with their girl. And they'd be like, yeah, I don't know. I bought this Rolex like 5 years ago. What's it worth now? And I'd hold it and I go, like 50 cents, man. It's fake. You know, and it's a dumb fucking scam. But counterfeit money, seen it numerous times. How about you?
Yeah. When I worked at Subway on Pensacola Beach, we had a specific incident where somebody had came in and cashed $100 bill and had done it multiple places on the beach. So like they were leaving a trail of counterfeit money. The police were trying to get to the bottom of it. We didn't realize it was fake, obviously, until after the fact. But I don't remember specifically what ended up even happening to him. Man, that's a dangerous fucking racket. I've actually got a friend who got arrested by the FBI for manufacturing counterfeit bills.
The worst I ever had was I actually grabbed like $100 bill, and I lifted it up, and there was like ink on my thumb.
Nice.
I was like, dude, at least wait for it to completely dry before you try to pass it off.
Ooh, I've never had this fresh of money before.
Yeah. Like, man, you got this straight from the Fed, man. This is straight from the presses.
So
It's
Florida is
the
such a
most
weird
ridiculous
place, man. And I've told you before, I think a lot of the reason why we get so much weird news out of Florida is because of the disparity in fucking classes. There's the haves and the have-nots living within fucking blocks of each other. And this is one of those headlines that just, it's real confusing. Florida man buys a $8 million island one week and steals $300 from Kmart the next. Suspect denies stealing $300 in goods and blames arrest on a quote-unquote commercial dispute. So there's this fucking millionaire tycoon down in the Keys, and he just now spent $8 million purchasing a small island off the coast of the Keys, so a tiny little island. He 59-year-old man named Andrew Lippy, on Saturday, he was arrested on a felony charge of grand theft of $300 to under $5,000. So he got arrested for $300.59 worth of stolen goods from a local Kmart, including a Keurig coffee maker, a Hamilton Beach coffee maker, 8 light bulbs, and a bed skirt. Apparently, he went back into the Walmart with a box that was for a Keurig, but it had a basketball stuffed into it. And the people took it back then and then arrested him for it. But what's weird about it, dude, obviously, it's a fucking weird story all around. But if grand theft starts at $300 and he was arrested for $300.59 worth of goods, it does make me wonder, like, what the fuck is really going on here?
I was gonna say, yeah, you cut out through part of that. So he returned a Keurig with a basketball in it. Is that what had happened?
One of the pieces of merchandise that he returned to this Walmart was a Keurig coffee maker box with a basketball inside, and then another Hamilton Beach model coffee maker had an old coffee maker inside of that box. He denied stealing the items, and when he was asked about it being replaced, he stated that the clerk should have realized there was no coffee machine in it by the weight of the box. So not denying it exactly there. And then when they asked him about these light bulbs he supposedly stole, he stated that he returned the bulbs because he paid too much for them and did not know how they were switched. I don't understand.
So how many fucking coffee makers does this guy need is my first question.
That's fair. It seems like there are 3 coffee makers in this story here.
That's a weird hustle. You know, he's like, man, I just sell Keurigs all the time to people and return them.
What? He owns the Real World Resort compound from the 17th season of the MTV series. So this dude is loaded. Fucking loaded.
That's a weird thing, man. Like, as much as I talk shit about, you know, like poor people who steal, I get it. You know, like when you're this rich though, why the fuck would you even waste your time with $300? Like it doesn't make any sense.
No, that's what's weird about it, because whatever this idea that it's very complicated and I'd rather not get into it, and the whole commercial dispute aspect of it, he's not theft aspect of it. So regardless of whatever the other situation or what the real motivation was, he straight up got caught stealing or trying to fucking hustle $300 worth of Walmart equipment, which is just, it's so weird. And the only thing that I can even kind of associate this with is when Winona Ryder got caught shoplifting fucking Coach bags or whatever.
Yeah, didn't she get caught a couple of times, or is it just the one time?
I think she did get caught multiple times.
Wasn't
for
she like
shoplifting.
a serial shoplifter? Huh?
Yeah, I think you might be right about that. I'll pull it up real quick, but it's just straight up kleptomania.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think people do it more for the rush than the money a lot of time. It's because, I don't know, just because it makes them fucking feel good, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, like that little fucking thrill of, I guess, breaking the law. Winona Ryder was sentenced to 3 years of supervised probation after she was convicted of shoplifting $5,000 worth of designer clothes from Saks Fifth Avenue. What? It's just so weird. Like, she had the money to spend on that. Like, I don't know, man. Like, if I were in a situation, let me just try to come up with a fucking hypothetical situation. Like, if I were a millionaire and I went into a restaurant and drank a water, and then I got a bill for the water saying that it was $500 water, regardless if I had the money or not, I wouldn't think that that was a fair amount to pay for it. So I might like just refuse to pay for it. But if you'd have that kind of money, like, what is any amount of money even worth? If you just spent $8 million on an island, what is $500 at fucking Walmart?
Yeah, if you have that money, it's literally the equivalent of like you and me stealing a penny. You know?
Yeah.
It's like that equivalent to where you're like imagine going to jail and getting in trouble for stealing a penny or like a stick of gum. You know, like that's what this is the equivalent of. It's fucking weird.
Man, I want to hear more information about this whole story. That guy, I'm interested in him. I didn't realize there was a small island off the coast of the Keys that you could actually buy in the first place. Like, this shit's all news to me. But yeah, it is just
You didn't
strange.
realize that?
No, I had no idea.
Oh man, I knew about it. That's what I was gonna buy next.
Yeah. Right. It was gonna throw a festival on that shit.
Fire Festival Part 2.
All right, well, we'll move on from that one. I got this one. We'll wrap it up on this one with Florida Man stories and move into our topics because I know we're already hitting about an hour and 15 minutes. But Florida Man threatened to destroy town with army of turtles. Self-proclaimed saint was arrested in a coastal Florida town on Sunday after screaming obscenities and threatening to unleash an army of turtles. An arrest affidavit reportedly says. Authorities received multiple calls about a man who was disturbing the peace at several businesses about 75 miles southeast of Orlando. The suspect, later identified as 61-year-old Thomas Devaney Lane, called himself the Saint and alleged his army of turtles would destroy everyone. Caleb, is this the same army of turtles that was confiscated at that airport, and do you think they're still on the way?
That's what it was all connected. I mean, who is this guy? Is he Aquaman? Like, what the fuck is he just gonna like call them forth from the sea and they're gonna attack?
Yeah, I don't know what the hell is going on here. The first comment: no doubt a Trump supporter who receives money from the government. Well then, not sure that's necessarily related, but all right.
Okay. So he said he was going to have turtles attack, essentially.
The officers later found him in the parking lot of a 7-Eleven where he allegedly cursed out customers and called 911. He told the 911 operator that that the officers needed to leave him now or you'll be sorry you fucked with the saint. All right.
I'm telling you, maybe this is the beginning of the superhero era. Maybe it wasn't how Glass ended. Maybe this is the beginning right here.
A turtle was mugged by 2 snails. When the police asked him to describe the assailants, he said, "I don't know. It all happened so fast."
Really?
Nah. All right. Yeah, we'll just let that one hang for a second and move into this conversation about Chris Evans. Caleb, take it away.
So Chris Evans, as we all know, Captain America, and if you're not aware, definitely on the left, to pretty an extreme degree, pretty progressive. he has come out and that he wants to have a project that essentially features interviews from politicians of both parties, where it's called, let me give the exact name of it. And this all started when he talked to Dan Crenshaw, and Dan Crenshaw showed him his glass eye that was a Captain America symbol. That's what people are claiming. I don't know if there's any validity, if that's what started it. But he's essentially wanting to come up with a website where you can kind of just hear both sides of an issue. So to help with engagement between the sides and kind of bridge the gap. So I heard this and was like, good on Chris Evans. That was my reaction instantly. I was like, good on him. I think we need the problem right now is I think that both the left and the right are so against talking to each other. They just see each other as the villain. Like, people on the right generally believe the left is the enemy. People on the left genuinely believe people on the right are the enemy as well. So I'm super happy about this. But he, which doesn't shock me in the least, has received a pretty decent amount of backlash from his side of the aisle, because they're kind of saying you're both siding it. People have compared this to when Trump said there were good people on both sides at Charlottesville. And essentially, they have the policy of you should not talk to essentially the enemy. And so he's received quite a bit of backlash for this. I don't know how much you've read up on it.
Again, man, I took like a 5-minute shit this morning, so I'm pretty much ready to go.
Okay.
First of all, I think what he's proposing is a good idea. For context to the listeners, who is the guy with the glass Captain America eye? He was a supporter of the KKK. Is that right?
No, I don't think that's what they claim. I don't believe he was a supporter of the KKK at all. He's just a conservative.
What's the guy's name?
Dan Crenshaw.
Okay, we'll look into that in a second. But yeah, okay, so for the idea of Captain America using his newfound celebrity and he's obviously been outspoken about political issues in the past before, so I don't think that this is a bad idea. I think that there does need to be a more open line of communication between people on all sides. This idea of vilifying and demonizing the other in this very binary system that everything is set up in these days. I find that what fundamentally he's trying to do, I think, is a fairly good thing. I don't know why there would be much pushback against it, other than just snarky people who think that they're smarter than this idea. Like you said, there does seem to be a little bit of pushback from people who don't think that the other side is worth hearing. And I think that that's troubling, because who gets to dictate what side is worth hearing?
Yeah, there was an article that I saw that was like, Chris Evans, both sides' political news site is Thanos level dumb. And it was just essentially saying, like, there are not two sides to any issue. There are certain things that we can maybe discuss, but there are other things that we can't discuss. Like, and this one I agree with. They're like white supremacy. I agree. We shouldn't discuss that.
But that's not a partisan thing. That's the problem with it. That's creating that false equivalency that's saying that all racists are conservative. And the same, like, on one side, we're going to say, who's going to argue with a woman's right to choose? And then on the other side, people are going to argue, who's going to argue with the fact that killing children is wrong? And so lots of people see their side as the definitive right, ethically, morally right side of the issue to be on, while I think that there is value in, because I read that article as well, and I do believe that there are more than two sides to everything. I think that what happens, and this happens a lot, and I constantly try to harp on it, even though it's kind of hard to articulate, is that there's this assumption that the left sees things from the left perspective and the right sees things from the right perspective, but it doesn't take into account all of the shades of gray, and that just because person A feels like issues 1 and 2 are important doesn't mean that person B doesn't feel like issues 3 and 4 are important or take priority or precedence over the other one. So that was a real complicated way of saying, I think that the idea that there is a left and a right is a little bit inaccurate, because I think that there are, if you take 50 people on the left or 50 people on the right and you survey them, they're not going to have the same views across the board. They're going to have nuanced, fairly different parts of the spectrum of knowledge, interest, preference, whatever the conversation we're having is. And I think that it's this idea that one voice gets to be the unified voice of any group of people is bullshit, because I think that everybody is different fundamentally.
Well, and I agree with that. I think you and me will shorthand ourselves as like center right, center left. You have some conservative views. I have some very liberal views. You know, I don't know anyone. I mean, I will lie. I do know people who, on both sides, who are like, they go down the checklist and they're like, oh, I got to agree with this. I got to agree with this. I got to agree with this. I got to be anti this, you know? But I think the average person, and a more sane, a more intellectually honest person goes down the list and goes, okay, this on the right, I agree with. This on the left, I agree with. This on the right, I don't. This on the left, I don't. That's a healthy way of looking at politics. And I think Chris Evans is, and the thing is, like, I've followed Chris Evans on Twitter, and he's gone on some like rants that I'm like, oh, like eye-rolling rants I've seen him go on, where I'm like, oh my God, Chris Evans is at it again. That being said, he has every right to have those rants, and he has every right to have his voice heard. And if he ever wanted to have anyone on a different political view wants to sit down and have a conversation with me, I'm glad, more than happy to talk about it. And I think not only can you, I think you should. I think it's something that's healthy. And to me, I don't understand, and it's probably this fringe Twitter, but kind of the video I sent you the other day from Tim Pool, where it's this overrepresented Twitter progressive that's probably attacking it. I don't think your average liberal left, I hate to use the term liberal, but because liberals wouldn't care about this at all, but I don't even think your average Democrat would have a problem with this. I would assume most sane people would be like, okay, cool, let's talk.
Yeah, and you know, the question about whether he's qualified or enough, I mean, that's a conversation that anybody can have on their own, and whether you choose to get information from what he proposes or the website that he puts out, I mean, that's totally your choice to do or not to do. I do, back to just the situation at hand, I think it's a positive thing. I think that his idea is in the right place. I do think that if you want to really get an honest representation of nonpartisan politics, then going to partisan politicians is a little bit like saying, hey, Mr. Politician, I'm giving you 1 minute to make the sound bite that you think sounds the best, to put it out there into the public so that we can hear both sides of an issue. I feel like just fundamentally politicians are partisan. They've all got an objective, you know, something that they're whatever the issue is, they're peddling an agenda. And so does cutting the politicians out of the conversation, does that increase the reputability of it? I don't know. I guess it's politicians have lots of platforms to push their ideology and to push their beliefs. And I think if we really do want to seek out truths on both sides of the spectrum, you can still go to a conservative news website, you can still go to a liberal website and try to make a truth objectively based on those two things. Or if Chris Evans thinks that this is going to be a shorthand and you can put Fox News and CNN on the same website, great, it's worth a try, I guess. And if there's an audience for it, then we've learned something.
I think it's 100% worth a try. And I think another notion that we need to almost get rid of is this notion of unbiased news. It doesn't exist. It never really has. And people like, oh, it's worse. I think now partisan news is 100% worse. But everyone has biases. That's actually why I usually bring up I'm center right. I want people to know intellectually, honestly, where my ideology is coming from. Because I can sit here and say, oh, I'm not biased, I look at everything objectively. I try to, but I have inherent biases in my opinion. Just like every newscaster, not that I'm a newscaster, obviously, but every newscaster does.
Right.
Everyone does. And I feel like I respect people who go, hey, I am like the only reason that I even have a problem with Fox News, to be completely honest with you, is because they call themselves fair and balanced. You know,
Right.
like that's what
Right.
bothers me. If they just said conservative news or conservative editorial, I'll be like, cool, more power to you. Like that, like Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro doesn't bother me. He's like, hey, we are a conservative website. You're going to get a conservative spin through a conservative lens when you come here. To me, that's fine. And so that article where they're like, this is Thanos level dumb, that's one of the things they said. They're like, why go to people with biases? I'm like, we all have them. You're
Everybody
writing
has
an
them.
article right now that is clearly biased. That article with Thanos level where they're like putting kids in cages. I'm like, just your wording of that shows that you're biased, because you didn't say detaining kids where their parents go through this long procedure to do that, because that's objectively looking at the issue. We all have it, and it's part of human nature. So I think what he's doing is super honorable. I don't agree with like pretty much anything Chris Evans says on politics, and I'm so happy for him. And he gets a huge pat on the back from me for attempting to talk, because that is something that is so lost in the social media age, is genuinely sitting down and having a conversation and looking at every side. I know personally, I follow CNN on Twitter. I follow MSNBC on Twitter. I follow Fox News. I follow Daily Wire. I follow Vox. I follow everything in between, PolitiFact, because I want to hear all sources. Because I don't want to get all. It's worrying when you only get right wing news, or it's worrying when you only get left wing news. And he is, I think, trying to shorthand that for people like me who don't need to read 50 different articles to find out what kind of might be true. He's trying to probably go, hey, here's the right wing side, here's the left wing side.
It
I think
is
that's great.
interesting, though, the way that he kind of coddles the politicians and says, like, if you don't like any of the questions, we'll skip them. And if you don't like your answers, we can do them over. That feels like there's not, what is the word? It's like grooming, like it gives them an opportunity to, again, put their best foot forward, which Chris Evans actually says that in the promo for it. So he knows that, and he's not going to give that opportunity to one side and not the other. But I think that there needs to be a healthy amount of distrust in politicians. Like, I
agree.
feel like once we start going to them for our information, now to hear, okay, so I'm going into the polling booths and I want to hear what people think about any given issue. And they have a minute to give me this soundbite, and I'm going to make my opinions dictated strictly upon what they say. Do I want the first thing that comes out of their mouth, or do I want the pruned and nice, refined version of what they've had to say after they've had a chance to think about it and maybe approach it from a different perspective, or see how what they say originally could be problematic? And I guess that's kind of something that's worth asking is, do you feel like listening to politicians at their word is a good way of getting your information?
So I think allowing them to like be a little more prepped is not a bad thing. I think we're in this weird era where we want people to misspeak. We love misspeaking right now. And I've done it on this podcast numerous times. You've done it, and
What are you
then
talking about? Name
even
one time.
even last episode where we're like, yeah, let's cut that whole last
That
segment,
doesn't
because
exist.
it wasn't even it wasn't well thought out on either of our ends,
Uh-huh.
and we said some stuff that I didn't really want out there for me, because it didn't represent how I really think. Because when you're spitballing and you're just doing stuff, dumb shit comes out of your mouth, and I think it's disingenuous to be like, oh, this person said this one answer and it can kind of be taken this way, misconstrued as this. That's super disingenuous. And they should just be a little more upfront and be like, what'd you really mean? But we live in a society where even if you clarify and you're like, no, what I actually meant was this, I know it came out weird. They're like, nope.
We have it on print. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, I agree. I feel like, to answer that question, I feel like if it's another tool then there's nothing wrong with it. If you can go to a source and get those kind of insights from politicians on specific issues, I wouldn't rely on it for my news. But if we're looking at things as a little bit more intellectual, as trying to find truths buried in all of this spun news articles from journalists who, as you said, they're human beings. We all do come into these things with bias. So you want to get as much information from as many different sources as possible. And I think that there is value to listening to what the politicians have to say, especially if we are considering electing them or not. I just, the question was never, should we listen strictly to Chris Evans' new series to get all of our information from? That's a whole different conversation altogether. I wouldn't even humor, my response to that, because it just seems ludicrous to me. Of course, you wouldn't go specifically to that to get all of your information. And of course, going into it, you have to have in the back of your mind that, like, people aren't always truthful. So just because this person A or person B says this specific thing doesn't necessarily mean that I should take them 100% as at their word. If you question it at all, pull up another fucking browser window, pull up another tab, and look into that thing that you're conflicted about, and try to find the truth within all of the spin. Because yes, all media, all journalists are biased.
So wait a minute, you're trying to tell me politicians sometimes lie?
Oh yeah, I know. It's a real revelation. Man.
Mind blown. No, I agree. That's how I feel. Like, if people were saying, hey, we're deleting all other news and this is the only place you can go, fuck yeah, this is problematic. This is terrifying. No one's saying that. It's another tool.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I literally cannot even wrap my brain around why people are offended by this.
I saw that back in a couple years ago. It was updated on March 27th, 2019. Originally posted... I guess maybe March 27th, 2019, but Chris Evans apparently said that if he found out that Tom Brady was a Trump supporter, he might have to, like, cut him out of his life or cut ties with him.
Yep. Yeah. Like, he says he says stuff like that all the time, and it seems like he's coming around. So good. I think Trump stinks, but that said, I would never not be friends with unless they couldn't handle my opinion. If somebody told me, like, if you don't like Trump, then I can't be your friend, well then fuck, I guess I can't be your friend. But otherwise, like, I don't, nobody is right about everything. You've just got to kind of accept that about fucking people, Well, and that's the thing that cracks me up is, like, and there's a lot I don't like about Trump. There's some things I do like. There was a lot I didn't like about Obama. Some things I didn't like. I never once in my life been like, you like this president, I'm no longer talking to you. That's ludicrous to me.
It's idiotic, and it seems like, we could get all into conspiracy theories and all of that kind of stuff some other time, but this whole idea of, like, divide and conquer, and then one nation under God, indivisible, but yet we have literally done something to keep you both at odds with each other. And if we, the people, cannot see that sometimes politics are a tool to divide us as opposed to unite us, we should not let politics interfere with our ability of being the people and having at least some unified voice, because that's, it's okay to have different political ideologies. It's okay to have different priorities and to be Republican or Democrat. That's all okay. But once your politics take precedent over your humanity, then you're already lost,
And I've said it numerous times. Politics are the new religion. That's all it is right now. People like to think we're a post-religious society. We are not. We just replace those religions, and people have just as visceral reactions now, and it's just as unhealthy as it was when people were freaking out on each other over religion. It's the same shit.
You have said that a couple of times. I think it's a really good point. It's interesting. I don't know. I'm curious to see how this does play out. Obviously, it looks like Chris Evans is pivoting in different directions, and whether or not that's a spoiler about what's ahead for us in Endgame, I'd say there's a pretty good chance that Cap ain't making it out of this motherfucker.
No, probably not.
I think he's I better figure out something to do.
Dan Crenshaw is going to run in and save him at the
end. Oh, shit. All right. Well, anything else before we wrap up that one?
I'm good there.
All right, then now we get to the important part, the real meat of the show. Caleb, I've been watching Game of Thrones over again for the past couple of weeks in preparation for today, Sunday, when we're recording this, the release of episode 1 of the final season of Game of Thrones. But it's a really dense show, and I think I speak for a lot of fans when I say that sometimes there's just things that you miss, and you may even miss them in the rewatch. So I was hoping maybe you and I could kind of clear up some of the questions that I had, and maybe you could kind of guide me through where things are headed at the end of this season.
Oh, I know everything about the Thrones.
Excellent. That's important because there are few fan bases that are so ravenous and so quick to call people on their bullshit as the Game of Thrones fans. It's important in this community that you make sure that you never ever make any mistakes, or else you are not a true fan. But I know you don't watch the show, right?
I've never even seen an episode.
Never seen an episode. You do, go on Twitter fairly regularly. You keep up with what's going on in the cultural zeitgeist. I'm kind of curious, can you tell me a synopsis? What do you see Game of Thrones as? So
I see that there's some guy, something Snow, and he is a good guy.
Correct.
There's houses and families that are all trying to screw each other over for power.
Nailed it.
And there's incest at some point.
Oh, tons of it.
There's a guy who had his dick cut off.
Not just one.
Oh, multiple dicks. Okay. And there's Daenerys. I know her name. And she commands dragons or something.
That's correct.
And there's White Walkers that look like dried up, raisin asshole people. And
like if ZZ Top were ghosts.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Pretty accurate. Yeah. They definitely look like something like Frighteners or like House. Remember the movie House?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Ding dong, you're dead.
House. And they're going to war with the White Walkers. Mm-hmm. And there's a throne of swords that I have no idea.
On top of it, everything you said is on time, man. That is all very accurate. So there are a couple of different important houses, families within this kind of dynastic era of medieval fantasy times in a different world. It's not Earth. It's not in the past or the future or anything. But there are the Starks, of Winterfell. Are they good or bad?
They're good, and they're led by a guy named Tony, and he sells weapons.
Correct. All right, excellent. Okay. What about the Lannisters? What's up with the Lannisters?
Lannisters are inbred little shits. They're little assholes.
So we've got Cersei Lannister. She is currently residing on the Iron Throne. She's played by Lena Headey. She's definitely the most antagonistic character that's still stuck around since season 1. Her brother, Jaime, who starts off as just this really bad, shitty character. He's kind of had a pretty impressive arc of kind of turning himself around and seeing the error of his ways. He's been called the Kingslayer ever since the beginning because he murdered the previous king in the battle of, in Robert's Rebellion. And he murdered the king, and everybody called him an oathbreaker because as the hand of the king, it's your responsibility to protect the king. But the king, Aerys Targaryen, who is Daenerys' uncle, I think, he had gone crazy and was using wildfire to fucking burn up all the people in King's Landing. And he was trying to get them to murder 100,000 people with wildfire. And so Jaime actually killed him to protect King's Landing from being slaughtered. So it actually ends up that he was one of the most noble characters in the show. Okay, so that's the Starks, the Lannisters. There's the who are the other big houses? The Targaryens. Do you know anything about the Targaryens?
They sound like a Star Trek character to me.
That's what Victoria said about Baratheon, the last name Baratheon. She's like, I don't know, it sounds like some sort of...
That is very Star Trek.
So the Targaryens, they are the fire. Where if the Starks are the ice, the Targaryens are the fire. Daenerys, Dany, she is a Targaryen, and she's also the mother of dragons. Apparently Targaryens have fire or inside them. They are the the house of people that had basically domesticated dragons and used them for conquest in the first place. So Daenerys thinks that she is the actual rightful heir to the throne. However, we just now recently learned that one of our other really fucking popular characters is actually a Targaryen, which gives him more of a claim to the throne than she is. Do you know who that character is?
No. Is that Snow?
It is. It is. I should have put spoilers at the beginning of this. I didn't know Caleb was going to actually know the whole show. Here we go. All right. So, why in the very first episode in the first season, Jaime Lannister, Cersei's brother, pushes Bran Stark, one of the sons of Ned and Catelyn, out of the window? Why did he push Bran out of the window?
Because he was trying to cut his dick off.
No.
No.
Good guess though. Bran came into a room where he found Cersei and Jaime having sex, and Cersei was like, "Oh God."
I knew there was a penis involved somewhere.
That's pretty much Game of Thrones. You can guarantee that there was a penis involved somewhere along the way. So it's pretty much all bad things happen as a result of men and their penises.
That's pretty accurate.
What happens to Sean Bean's character in the first season of Game of Thrones?
He gets decapitated.
That is correct. Look at that. Okay.
Really?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And the reason why is because he was going to reveal that the children of Robert Baratheon and Cersei were not actual Baratheons. They were bastards of inbreeding. They were Jaime's kids. So he was going to tell the realms that the children of Cersei had no claim to the throne. All right. What is an imp? Is it a racist word for an elf, a racist word for a giant, or a racist word for a dwarf?
Dwarf. Racist word for a dwarf.
That is correct. What is the Red Wedding?
The Red Wedding is probably something to do with a period of some sort, like a virgin. Something
is it
getting
a
married to
wedding
virgin.
that the bride wears red to signify her loss of innocence, a sex position, or a wedding in which most of our main characters are slaughtered?
I guess it wears red.
No, it's a wedding where most of our main characters are slaughtered. Like, This is 4 seasons in, and you're like pretty sure that you know who the lead of the show is, and nope. Why did the Night's Watch accuse Jon Snow of being a traitor? They found out he is a bastard, they found out he laid with a wildling, or because he refused to marry his younger sister?
He didn't want to marry his younger sister.
That would actually probably apply, but no, they found out he laid with a wildling.
That was my second guess.
What is a wildling, though?
A wildling is a person who's gone feral.
That's pretty good, man. They're not Westerosi white trash. They're free folk from north of the wall. That's pretty close, though. They're
Wildling are the people who go to Walmart and release their dog. That's what wildlings are.
Which character drinks and knows things?
Drinks and knows things?
Is it Samwise Gamgee, Tyrion Lannister, or Tywin Lannister?
Let's do Tyrion.
That's correct. Yeah, the imp. And dude, like a lot of the Lannisters are pretty shitty at the beginning, but then like Tywin and or Tyrion and Jaime are like probably my favorite characters from the show. I'm a big House Lannister guy.
They actually come around.
Yeah. Not the most popular answer. Everybody loves the fucking Starks, of course, and everybody loves the Targaryens. Everybody wants to see Dany rule, but she's a little too power hungry, I think. But all right, here's an important question: where did Hodor's name come from? Hodor.
From Hold the Door.
Oh, look at you! Look at you. That is correct. What happens when Dany says the word Dracarys? Do her dragons fly? Do they return to her? Or do they breathe fire?
Fly.
They breathe fire.
Ah, that was my second.
You're doing pretty good considering you've actually never seen an episode of the show.
No, I've never seen even like 2 minutes of it. Nothing. I don't even think I've seen a trailer.
So we've got the Mountain and the Hound. They are two brothers. They're the Cleganes, and they've both like soldiers, big, gigantic fucking dudes, and they've been supposed to be fighting ever since the first season. And everybody's kind of predicting that the Clegane Bowl is going to take place, where these two brothers actually battle it out. Who's going to end up winning? Is it the Mountain or the Hound?
The Mountain, because he's a giant man.
Take it to the fucking bank, people. The Hound is going to win the battle between the Mountain is going to win and beat the Hound in Clegane Bowl. When someone says pay the iron price, what do they mean? Do they mean pay for someone to do something for them, pay a prostitute, or kill someone and take their shit?
Kill someone.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, I knew there was death. I was like, there had to be something there because iron with a sword.
Yeah, that's exactly right. If anyone is going to sit the Iron Throne at the end of Game of Thrones, is it going to be Sansa, Arya, or Jon Stark? You think Snow?
Yeah.
Yeah, what I love about this is I genuinely have no fucking idea. That seems like, just from classic storytelling, it's gotta be Jon Snow. Everything that has fucking happened up to this point, it just makes the most sense thematically. But George R. R. Martin likes to subvert tropes and expectations.
Which I love when writers do that. I love movies and everything where you're like, well, that's a fucked up ending. It's like not what you want. I love that shit.
I do too. And I think that's why a lot of people were a little more mixed on season 7 of Game of Thrones, is because there were so many big payoffs in it. And people were like, it's fan service. And I'm thinking like, of course, if it was inevitable for it to happen the entire time and then it finally happens, yeah, it's fan service, but it's also just a huge fucking payoff. Like, Daenerys was eventually going to get to Westeros. For 7 fucking seasons, she had never been off of Essos, which is one continent. And in the first episode of season 7, she shows up in Westeros for the first time, which, if it's not an earned moment, nobody really gives a shit, right? But the fact that we've waited years to see this happen, it makes it a huge thing. Or like Arya finally meeting up with Jon Snow again, or like, reunions and all that kind of shit. Anyways, I say all that to say that, like, by the trajectory that things were going last season, it looks like what we're going to end up with is a much more conventional fantasy story that had some really strong subversions at the beginning. But if what audiences love about George R. R. Martin comes to fruition, then we're going to have the rug fucking pulled out from under us right at the last minute.
Well, I'm hoping, if from the way you describe it, that the last season was used to throw you off the path of like, oh, this is going more traditional to where I was expecting it. And then the final season, they're like, no, we just kind of did that. So you're like, oh, this is going more the way you expect it to go.
Yes. Yeah, I want it to be that. I feel like a lot of times shows are pretty good about not being able to guess the ending. I was thinking about great TV shows like Breaking Bad. I didn't exactly know where that was going to end, but to me there was this inevitability that Walt wasn't fucking making it out. The Sopranos, same kind of thing, and they didn't even show you the resolution in The Sopranos. So, like, there's been really good television series up to this point that you weren't able to predict what's going on. I think if you were to take a poll right now, which actually that's what got me thinking about this, is that Huffington Post saw that there was artificial intelligence that was created to predict who would survive and who would end up on the Iron Throne. So it inputted all the data from the series into this algorithm, and when it came out with its results, it says that Daenerys Targaryen is going to be the one that wins the Iron Throne.
That's a good one too. It's her or Jon Snow.
Jon is ice, Daenerys is fire, I think embodied, because Jon's from the north. He's actually died and been brought back to life. And then Dany's, the mother of dragons. So I think thematically they are the two main characters in the story. Mm-hmm. Daenerys has felt like she was entitled to the throne ever since episode 1. She wanted to basically rule Westeros because she had the right to it, the birthright. Where Jon became the king of the north reluctantly. He only ever had leadership thrusted upon him. He never asked to be great. He never asked to be king. He never wanted this bigger, loftier thing. And I think that's what gives him that humility, is what actually makes him a hero. Whereas if you're entitled to think that you deserve to rule, you're not a good fucking ruler, just as a byproduct of that. So I don't like the idea of Dany winning unless she has to win at all costs and basically just ends up fucking ruling over nothing at the end. But I think that Westeros is ready for a democracy, and I don't think that there will be an Iron Throne. I think that bitch is getting melted down by dragons at the end of the show, and that there's going to be like a small council instead. But 100% speculating. Huh?
I think that's a good prediction, that there is no throne by the end of it.
Yeah, it just feels like that. Anybody sitting on the Iron Throne just feels like it kind of misses the point of what this whole thing has been about, and that's breaking the wheel and breaking the cycle of just corrupt politics and politicians fucking each other over.
You know, it'd be a great ending from someone who's never seen it, is have Jon Snow win, okay? He doesn't melt the throne. He ends up sitting on the throne, and the cycle isn't broken. He becomes everything he hates.
Yeah, that would actually be pretty legit, too.
Like, and then have it a real dark, like, oh, this fucking sucks. Not a feel-good ending.
Yeah, I would be all right with that. I'm open to a lot of things, but I think the most important thing before we wrap this up is, will George R.R. Martin ever actually finish A Song of Ice and Fire, the novels?
No, he's too busy writing comic books right now. I've read a couple of them.
Are they good?
No, they're awful.
What? What are they about?
Yeah, they're really not good. Though I read one of them, I forgot what it was about. I just didn't stay with me. But the other one was about like dead people being brought back to life in the future and being like used as prostitutes, and this guy falling in love with them because he works on a mine and he's never like seen women except for those, and it's just not good.
Is it Skin Trade?
I don't know what the hell it's called. It's called Dead Meat or something like that.
Interesting. Well, I'll have to look into all of that. I am not super familiar with his work. I started reading Game of Thrones, but my attention span is just fucking trash these days. I'm going to be honest. I got to get the audiobook for it because I was like, oh, too many names. This shit is dense. I don't know who the fuck. And everybody's got the same fucking name. It's like there's probably 10 Johns on the show. Like, common names are common names, even in Westeros. It's not like everybody gets their own fucking unique surname or something like that. There's a dozen different Tarleys, and then there's Tarwells, and then there's Tyrells or Tyrells and Martells. It's like, fuck, all these names. I can't keep it straight, but...
Yeah, that's one thing. Even when people explain it to me, I'm like, I know who the big players are, but they'll name all these houses and families. I'm like, I don't fucking know.
Do you think you'd like it?
I don't like fantasy in general, so I don't know if it would be for me.
I don't either. I'd actually be curious about that. You guys let us know what you think in the comment section. And also, are you excited about the new season of Game of Thrones? Love to hear your predictions down below. Let's talk about any of these conversations that we've had over this extremely long and fun podcast. Anything else before we wrap this up, Caleb?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I think we kind of went on for, how long did we end up hitting? Like 2 hours?
Right about. We could drag it out for another 3 minutes now, and we do have 2 hours.
The intro, what you're cutting out, or is that actual 2 hours?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, maybe an hour and 45 minutes.
We're good. Perfect.
All right, man. Well, this has been fun. I'm surprised. You really did. You brought it with the Game of Thrones knowledge today. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, do me a favor. Take just a second to smash that little thumbs up button. It really helps out. If you want to stay up to date with all of the content, then all you got to do is subscribe. Click the bell. Check out all of the links down in the description. Caleb has got us up on all sorts of podcasting apps. So wherever you consume your audio content, we are there to meet your needs. Yeah, and until next time, and on behalf of both of us, be terrible.